What's up, world? Welcome back to Authentically Us, the podcast where we talk about what it means to be authentic in everything that you do in every space that you occupy. I'm Conroy Smith. I'm one of the hosts, and we got Tony here. Tony, say what's up to the people, man.
What's going on, y'all? I'm always here.
Guys, we have a wonderful guest today. But before we jump in, pause this podcast. Give us a review. Give us a rating. Give us a like. Go to our Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. Follow us.
All of it. We're everywhere.
Follow us.
Can't get away.
Give us a rating. Also, go to our link tree.
That's
we have some resources there. And shout out to MSW for having us on their website and their platform. But without further ado, we have a wonderful guest today, and I don't want to hold y'all any longer. So let's get into it.
Let's go.
Guys, we got another special guest on the podcast today. We got Sierra Jackson. She is an actress, sickle cell disease survivor, and she has currently, if I'm not mistaken, been doing voice acting as well.
Yeah, I've done a lot of voice acting.
Yeah, so welcome to the podcast, Sierra.
I'll have to do like a intro for you guys one day as your guest star. Be like, hello and welcome to Authentically Us, or I'm sorry.
Yes, let's do it.
We are booking you immediately after this, so just so you know.
We are authentically ourselves 24/7. I don't know.
Yes.
Tony,
we can cut this clip and then just add that.
Yes.
We'll just add her
Absolutely.
voice. This is great already.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, let's dive straight in. Sierra, tell us a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, and what was your upbringing like?
Gosh, I hate that question so much. I literally was just sending my agents emails. I've been looking for new reps, and I literally hate that tell us about yourself question, because I have the disease of being long-winded. And so I'm like, ooh, where do I start? Well, I was born. No, so I was born in Houston, Texas, to the parents of Cheryl and Mark. And I was born with sickle cell disease type SS, which you mentioned, which is really bad. And I'm just jumping right into it. Basically, when I was a little kid, I think I started having my first hospitalizations when I was probably like 5. That's like my earliest memory of being in and out of the hospital. So really, my childhood and my young adolescent years were really surrounded a lot by sickle cell and hospitalizations. And I really did find my love of entertainment through that, because I was always looking for a way to escape my reality of, being in the hospital, being sick, having these really bad chronic sickle cell crisis. And if you have listeners who don't know what sickle cell is, it's basically a genetic blood disorder where your red blood cells look like a crescent shape, so maybe like a banana, and the normal person who has normal red blood cells have their red blood cells are circular. And so the sickle cells get stuck in the veins, and that causes something called pain crises. And these crises can happen in your brain, your liver, your feet, your legs, all over your body. It can cause excruciating pain, and patients often have to get blood transfusions, and they have to be on high doses of narcotics. And then once they're able to bring the pain down with the narcotics, if they have to put you on a pain pump or something like that, then sometimes you have to go through withdrawal, because your body is now, it's not you who's like, I want drugs. It's basically like if they put you on a pain pump and the pain medicine is going into your body, every so many minutes, when the pain is better and it's time to get you off, sometimes you have to go through withdrawal. So my childhood was very torturous and tormented by that. I mean, my mom did her best to make it, as wonderful as possible. She was, always there for me and always just trying to let me, do anything. That I wanted to do beauty pageants, which I did. She always advocated for me to try to be able to live as much of a normal life as I could. And yeah, so sickle cell was a really big part of that. And because of the remnants of it, I feel like I live in Virginia now. I just got married, and my husband, when he met me, was the first thing he did was drag me out of LA. Boo. But I'm dealing a lot with the remnants of my childhood now. Like, I was listening to one of your just a section of, I think it was Haven Inspired or something on your page, and she was saying like you have to do the work. And I feel like because I've been in the hustle and bustle of LA so much, that and hustling to pay rent and auditions and everything, that I've never really had a moment. And I am cured, by the way, now of sickle cell. I had a bone marrow transplant at 27. So if we can talk about that more later, but I don't feel like I've ever had a moment in my life where I've just been like still. And I'm in a town now. LA has, I don't know, like how many millions of people that live there? Like, I don't know, like 12 million or something. I live now in a town where there's like 293,000 people. So the level of stillness that I'm in now, I feel like it's caused a lot of things to come up. And as that girl was saying in that clip, she said, you know, you have to do the work. Like, life is happening, and it comes a point in time where you're going to have to like deal with your stuff, and or it will deal with you. You have to do the work. And I loved how she was saying you can't just pray it away, because it don't work like that.
Yeah. Man, you've been through a lot, and I can only imagine like pretty much growing up in the hospital, you know, and kind of going back and forth. Now, was that pretty much your story until the bone marrow transplant at 27, or did you have other moments of like, hey, I can live a normal high school or college life?
Yeah, so that's a really great question. Thank you for asking that. So essentially, and this kind of plays into what I've been battling as of lately, and the anxieties and the things that I've dealt with lately. So probably around the time, like I said, my earliest memory of my first crisis was when I was 5. And basically it would be like, okay, I'm good, maybe like for 3 months or something. And then it's like, boom, crisis. I'm back in the hospital. Or it's like, I'm good. A week goes by and I feel like these little triggers, because sometimes I would tell my mom, be like, Mom, I can feel a crisis is going to come. Like, I'm not in pain right now, but there were just these little things that I could feel in my body that would alert me that I was going to have a sickle cell pain crisis. And so my whole life was predicated on unpredictability. It was, hey, you're going to go to school, and then it's like, oh, boom, now you're in the hospital again. Now you're going through this pain crisis. You're in intensive care from acute chest syndrome, which is this like lung thing you can get from sickle cell. So yeah, like there were moments of time where I was okay, but pretty much from the time up until I was 27, for about 2 years, I was on a chemotherapy drug that tremendously took down the pain crisis. So I wasn't in the hospital as much. But my whole life was, okay, I'm in school. I'm finally catching up. I'm on my schoolwork. And then now I'm back in the hospital. And now I've got to go back to school, learn the stuff that they already learned, plus the new stuff that they're learning right now. And it was just this vicious cycle of always having to play catch up, and always like healing from the past crisis, and then being okay for a little bit of time, and then going back into the hospital. And so even now, some of the challenges that I've dealt with in my adult life are, even though they took the sickle cell away and I don't clinically have that disease anymore, you know, your brain is wired in your formative years. And so in my mind, like I always felt like God was, I always would pray like, God, please, like, I don't want to die from this disease. Like I was petrified. Like I was terrified that I would not get to live the life that I wanted to live. I always was afraid that there wasn't going to be enough time. And I always felt like there had to be healing for me somewhere. I always felt like God had planted like a tiny seed that there was healing for me. And even though I feel like God's been revealing to me lately, like, hey, like, even though like you got this healing physiologically, like you don't have sickle cell anymore. It's my brain has sort of been wired that like, okay, things are good, but there's this expectation that something tragic and something unpredictable is going to happen. So I constantly have found myself in this chronic state of fear of like, oh my God, I'm really happy but I'll be having a panic attack, where my husband's had to take me to the hospital because I'm just in this panic stage of feeling like, oh my gosh, like, is something bad going to happen? And I'm very aware of my body. So if there's a headache, I'm like, oh, is it a brain aneurysm or am I having a heart attack? Like, it feels like a lot of the sickness, like, even though they took it away, my body is still like in this state of thinking something tragic is going to happen, or even feeling like I do feel worthy of happiness, but also at the same time, I'll have these thoughts of like, oh, my husband's leaving to work. Like, is he gonna die and now I'm gonna be alone? Or am I gonna get a call that something's gonna happen to my mom? So I feel like now I'm trying to retrain my brain, like, no, like, we're not sick anymore. Like, that is done, that is over. And I think that, anybody who's ever dealt with a chronic illness, like, yeah, they can take the disease away, but you have to literally do the work every day in affirming that you're healed, you're whole, you're complete. Like, that is not existent anymore. And so because that was my life for 27 years, and I would even say further than 27 years, because even when I got my transplant, listen, I had knee surgeries, I've had my gallbladder out, like, I've had hormone stuff since the transplant. So there's still been other things. So up until I was probably, like 29, there was still a lot of health stuff going on. So I'm 34 now. So I'm only 4 years of really not chronically being in the hospital and trying to figure out a healed whole life without worrying about sickness and disease and all of that. So that really shaped a lot of things. And I'm in therapy now, and it's been challenging.
Yeah, so from what you've been sharing, what I'm sitting with is like you are resilient. Like, you know what resilience is. You know what it's like to
Fight.
well, not only fight but have the cards stacked against you, but then rise above that and um go to places you probably never imagined you would go. Talk to us more about what therapy has been like and how you've prioritized your mental health through this.
Well, like I said, I think I'm a very highly productive person. Like, my husband, he like, I work on so many projects. Like, right now I'm trying to finish my book. I'm working on like this sister friend website where it's all about healing and stuff. I'm still doing acting auditions, and now I'm newly married. I live in a new town, and it's really funny. I'm going to say a bad word. My husband like looked at me like 2 weeks ago because like I'm always working, and like I'm up at like 5 a.m. like working out, drinking the water, doing all the things, wifing. And he literally grabbed me because I was in a funk one day. He grabbed me by the shoulders and he goes, Sierra, you're the most productive person I know. He's like, but I'm gonna need you to get the fuck out of the house. He's like, what did I say? He was like, get the fuck out of the house. And I was like, okay. He's like, Sierra, you need community, you need socialism. But I've actually found out, like, in saying that, I've actually found out that highly productive people oftentimes deal with anxiety because they're like avoiding dealing with like the feelings. And so I'm like, oh, like, I don't need to be working on something at every moment of the day. And I've noticed that my life has been always working on all these different things so that I can avoid these feelings of uncomfortableness. So I'm learning through therapy that sometimes you have to sit through the uncomfortable and just be. They'll say like let boredom sit in. I don't believe in that word boredom because I feel like there's always something that you could be working on and achieving, whether it's learning a language or something of that nature. But I think yeah, like prioritizing my mental health is crucial. I think that hospitals have to do a better job of helping patients like me go through these types of things. And there was something else I wanted to say. I think that, you know, one of the things I'm currently working through in therapy is, even though like, so I feel that my whole life I've had all of these goals and ambitions, right? To be on TV, to get married, to be a mom, to do all these different things. And I feel like so many of the things that I really wanted have come true. And there's still this, but also one of the core beliefs when I was young was like, oh, like, even though I don't want to die young, I feel like I'll die young. And so in therapy, I was asking her, just today, actually, I was like, I feel as though there's anxiety about my anxiety, because I said, I feel like sometimes I'm like, well, if all of my prayers have come true and everything that I've thought about, I've wanted to come true has happened, like, how do I eradicate that ideology that like I'm going to die young, even though I don't have sickle cell or whatever? And so she's given me tools to say, like, hey, like, there are other things that I think she said, I actually wrote it down, equal but opposite. So, in the same way that you have these catastrophic thoughts, like, what about the opposite end? What if you are going to live until you're 102? Like, you have to have this sort of balance. I've totally forgotten what your question was, um but yeah, I feel like it's mental health, and this is just very important. I'm sorry, I've forgotten what the question
No,
was.
you answered it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
you
did.
answered it.
Oh,
I
I did.
Yeah. We were just asking about like how this essentially your journey and how your journey in mental health and seeing a therapist has played in a role. So you answered it wonderfully. Um,
Yeah, and I think another thing that I was talking to somebody recently, and it's so funny. I'm gonna write it down so I don't forget. But my husband and I were watching Planet Earth the other day because he's a documentary freak. He loves learning all the time. He's highly productive in that way. And it was so funny because the lion was after something, or like the prey was after whatever, or the predator was after the prey or whatever. And I was like, go, like, get away, buffalo, like, because I didn't want the lion to get him. And my husband was like, they always get the one who's wandered away from the herd, or the sick one, or the young one. And I just was like, oh my God, babe, like, that's a sermon, because I think that that's how the enemy works. Like, the enemy gets you so isolated, making you think that you're alone, that nobody else understands what you're going through. I mean, thank goodness for the internet, because right now I do feel a lot of loneliness. I have my husband, but I feel loneliness in a sense of like, I don't have my girlfriends here, or my gym people who I usually hang out with, or, just seeing those usual familiar faces that I've been with for the past 17 years. And, thank God for, the internet. Like, if you go to a YouTube video and you look up a video about anxiety and you see people are writing the exact same feelings that you have, you're like, oh my God, so I'm not alone. But I think that even with mental health and like sharing, there's power in talking about what you're feeling, because even for a therapist to say like, hey, there's other people who are dealing with what you're dealing with, because that's how you get eaten alive. That's how we have suicide and depression. I mean, depression is going to exist even if you talk about it, but that is how the enemy really gets you when you're in isolation. It's kind of like that buffalo who wandered away from the pack to the pack herd. You got to stay in community. And, we're looking for churches now here in Virginia, but I just think like community is so important, and talking about what you're going through, because chances are other people are going through what you're going through too. And you don't, like, isolation is the worst thing that you could ever do. So I think that that's important.
you guys didn't know you were going to get a sermon in this interview as well. So make sure to go to her Instagram and pay your tithes. I did want to say that what I hear a lot, kind of what you're saying, is the struggle you had from like your sickle cell, almost like you would have some good moments and then you ultimately knew a bad moment was happening, and it was like because of the sickle cell, it was like there was always going to be a bad moment almost in your mind.
Always.
And
Exactly. Always
what
going
I'm
to be a
hearing
bad.
now is that it's hard for you to accept that there are good things. And
Yeah.
what I was also hearing was that the things that you prayed for have come to pass. And I think what God is showing you now is that, like, hey, the things that you prayed for were great, but I'm going to exceed those things. And it's almost like he's saying, like, hey, now trust me in this, because you don't have sickle cell anymore. But now we're going to, because your life has been like, go, go, go. Oh, I need to catch up on work, or now I need to go to this audition. It's been go, go, go. He sat you in Virginia to sit with all of this, and you can't be go, 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 except for in your house, which you seem to found a way to do it anyway.
Yeah.
To like sit with these things. And I don't know, I just want to encourage you that, like, you do deserve good things, and like good things are going to continue to happen, and they're going to be some bad, but like almost switching your mind frame from like bad things are going to happen, or no, like good things are going to happen.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to get this next role. I'm going to find friends. I
Yeah.
can leave the house. Yeah, so that was my encouragement for you.
Thank you for saying that. Like, every little thing that any positive, anything that anybody can say, like, it helps me. Like, it's a seed that you just planted, and I know that, like, I'm working on watering these seeds that I'm internalizing with conversations, whether it's therapy or a sermon or whatever. So thank you for planting that seed of, like, no, like, good things are gonna happen. Like, and you worded it so beautifully. Like, yes, I literally trained my mind that, like, okay, things are good, but then now things are gonna be like catastrophic. And so I'm trying to, like, release myself from that and be like, no, Sierra, like, you're good. Like, everything is everything. It's good.
Yeah. But also recognizing, like, that was literally over half of your life. So it's not bad that, like, you're having these thoughts. You are literally are rewiring your brain as a 30-year-old, which we all know it is difficult, but like that was over half of your life where that was a fact. Good
It was
things,
a fact.
catastrophic. Good things, catastrophic. But now it can be good and better. Like, so.
Right. Well,
I'm gonna rate that.
and to like add to that, like your body has known trauma. Like what you've gone through is traumatic, and your body keeps a score. And
Yeah.
so like
Literally.
like doing this is going to be a process, and so I challenge you to be able to slow down enough to realize, hey, in this moment something great happened and I stayed there. In rejoicing, I have the ability to stay in good places and
Yeah.
not let my mind wander.
Yeah.
Because as you start to see that more and more, that's where freedom comes as well.
Yes. I love that you said that, because, like, that's like, if there's two words that I, like, really want to resonate with and live in, well, three words is peace, freedom, and safety. Like, I'm free, like, I'm peaceful, and I'm safe. So I love that you said that. Yeah.
Also, first of all, just thank you so much for sharing all this. This has already been amazing.
Yes.
I do want to get into the acting side. So you
Yeah.
mentioned something a while ago that you said kind of going throughout the process of the hospitalization, in and out of the hospital, kind of sparked I guess this creative bug in you.
Yeah.
Now, what sparked that? And was it you watching novellas in the hospital? Like, what sparked this?
I've always been obsessed with love.
So I wasn't too far off.
Yes. My husband makes fun of me. He's like, I've been trying to read more too, and I was listening to this audiobook, and he's like, Sierra, all you do is watch the same stuff over and over. I love you. Do you love me? So all of my friends are always God, Sierra love. They used to say Sierra loves love, like, so yeah, I mean, I literally would just be fantasizing in the hospital room, like watching a romantic movie or a fairy tale. Like, I still am very much love fairy tales. I'll literally, my husband will see me watching something on TV and I'll just have like the biggest smile on my face as if I'm living their life. He's like, you're so animated when you watch TV. Because I'm like, it's me. But also the opposite too. Like something tragic's happening and he's like, turn this ish off. Like, because I just like fully embrace it. I'm like, what if that happens to us? But yes, like I loved television, like, but not in a like lazy type of way, but I loved the sparking of the imagination of like, oh my gosh, like what would it be like to have somebody like hold you in their arms and be like, I love you, and I love you more than all the words in all the books. So like, oh, like, yeah, that's so wonderful. So I love. And so I don't know. I was always a very creative kid. So I think I just was always, I loved to just do entertainment. Like music made me feel so good. Like listening to music, like CDs and watching TV, like it just made me feel good. And I was like, yeah, like I want to do that. Like I want to entertain people and take people. I think like our teachers, I had in an acting class, there was a student who asked the teacher, like, well, should we be like emotionally masturbating? But like I have to be aware of that, because as an actor, you can like be doing all this emotional masturbating and like taking yourself to these like toxic places that are like, because it can cause you to like live in it as opposed to just like acting. But I just love the idea of being able to be on screen and evoke something in somebody the way they evoked that in me. So like, even if it's freedom for a second, because you're so entrenched in a television show, and I'm this kid in the hospital bed who's like, yeah, like I'm in like all the movies I watched were super toxic. So I'm trying to think of something good, but like I'm in A Walk to Remember, which is super toxic because that's caused a bunch of toxic thinking also. But just taking somebody to that world, I always wanted to do that.
So, talk to us about your favorite acting opportunity.
You guys asked me that, and like, I mean, I think like last year I booked a show on the Disney Channel for voiceover, which was just amazing. And all year I've been looking forward to it coming out. And they completely recast my part. After I did all the work, I was like telling my husband, like on the countdown, like I'm on Disney Channel. The director was like, oh, we love your work. We're going to have you back. We get picked up for season 2. And they completely recast me. And I remember waking up being like devastated, because I kept checking IMDb for the credit, and I was like, I'm on Disney, like, and I'm gonna be on Disney because it's like the dream Pixar. But yeah, they recast me. I think those stories are important too.
Mm-hmm.
And they recast me with a veteran, like a woman who's been in every cartoon you can think of. So my husband was like, well, you got paid from Disney. And he's like, look who they replaced you with. So like, like they didn't get another rookie. Like, he's like, so anyway, that was really cool. But when you ask me that, to be perfectly honest, I think some of my most rewarding work has not been anything that I've booked yet. I think my most rewarding work has been, I took classes at the Meisner School, the Taylor School of Acting. It's a Meisner program in LA, and that teacher, Alex Taylor, is so vigorous. Like, talk about somebody who doesn't really care about the dollars. Like, I feel like he doesn't really care about the business of acting. He cares so deeply about the art of acting. And I would say, like, when I think about what I am able to do as an actress and the places that I can go, it's the work that he gave me in his class. It's not, a co-star on this show or that show, or a music video or any of the kind of the shallow things I've gotten so far. It was really like those character roles that I got to do in class. And those are really the roles that I'm waiting for. Like, and I've had some really good auditions for some of those deep, like meaty roles that I want to do. But I don't think I've booked the role that I'm just like so into yet. I mean, I've done a couple of shorts that I was like, okay, this is cool. But the character stuff, like one time I got to play someone with special needs with autism. And I'm like, oh my God, like if that would have been recorded, I'm like, I could have been like at the academies because how I was able to morph myself into that with the dialect and the body movements and all of those things. Like he taught us how to do character work. We had to do blind work. We had to learn how to be able to be blind and be deaf and be drunk and be on drugs and all of these different things. And that class freaking like expanded me as an artist just so much. Like I tell everyone, like I've taken so many acting classes in LA, but Alex Taylor by far like is literally the best. And you know, I actually auditioned to be, I was in the running for the Whitney spot for the movie that just came out, which I shouldn't say anything. I won't say anything. But anyway, Alex, in case this is like gets to the millions, I won't talk about that. But Alex, I reached out to him during that and he was like, you got this. And even what I was able to do through that process and to becoming her and learning that, like those are the roles I want to do. I want to do the character stuff. I don't want to do this like shallow stuff that we see on TV and this loosey goosey stuff. Like I want to do the deep stuff. And I really feel like some of the work that he made me do in class was my greatest joy. That was a tangent.
I 100% can see that because just hearing, I feel like you have a big heart, and hearing your heart and even watching you talk about how you love, I can see you kind of fully embracing a character and like owning it, almost like one of those like characters that like they almost mistaking, like they completely forget your name Sierra and they start calling you that character. Like I can see you doing that.
That's what I want. Like I want that. Like those are the roles that I want. I think I'm an attractive woman. And so sometimes like, you know, agents have the tendency to be like, oh, pretty girl, submit. And you just get all this dumb crap that's just like, you cheated on me. Like, I don't think that that is me. I think that, and I think also because of everything that I've been through, I just, like you said, I have the heart to be like, I want somebody that I gotta like go to the depths of like who they are, and like Sierra's to the side, and like I just get to be entrenched in their world and metamorphosize into something else. Like that is the challenge that I'm up for. So I actually even tell actors like, and this is something that I'm gonna do. I haven't done it in a while because my headshots are a little dated and I need new ones. But when you are like maybe an attractive person or something, like take headshots with no makeup on, like make them see like that you're not this beautiful person. Like be that character. Like be willing to be raw in the picture, because when you start to be raw in the picture, like they'll be like, ooh, like this is interesting. They will call you in for that.
All I'm saying is just remember us, like remember our little podcast when you blow up, like when you're playing Whitney, just remember, hey, I did a podcast with Authentically Us. Just remember,
and they
us.
do have a Vimeo, so come on now.
But listen, don't say little podcast. It's a big podcast.
You're right. You know what? I truly believe our podcast is great. We've had some great guests. You are clearly one of them. And I can't wait to like see, like we've had a lot of guests who are like on the cusp. Like they're like one song, one sermon, one acting role away from like blowing up. And I'm like, just remember us. That's all.
Right. Right. And like, I can't wait to watch you act,
Yeah.
because I can just tell you care so much about the art and giving it your all. Like,
I
I'm
do.
so excited.
I feel like too, like I'm grateful to my husband because, when I was in LA hustling and bustling, being married to him, he's not an artist, so he has more of a steady income. And I feel like because, he's not relying on my income in our household, I feel like he's given me the freedom to be more selective of the things that I want to pursue in my art. And he's also given me the freedom of when I do get an audition to take a risk. I mean, I was just telling him yesterday, I was like, babe, I had some really cool voiceover auditions even yesterday. And sometimes when you are in this need of the money, there's this desperation or this safe space that you're creating from. But, I'm so privileged to be with someone who, we know what our income is going to be. So that helps me be able to be like, I can take a risk in my art and I can and do a move that maybe I shouldn't do, but I can take this risk. And I can also tell my agents like, hey, no, like I'm not gonna audition for this, because I'm not so stressed out about the money and stuff.
Shout out to your husband.
Yeah, shout out to him.
Talk to us about what is Sister Friend.
Oh my gosh, don't ask me that. It's so hard. Like my cousin asked me, she's like, well, how would you, because there's this book called The Compound Effect, and everybody should read it. It's amazing. It's an audiobook. Even if you listen to an hour a day, you'll be done in like 5 days because the audiobook's like 5 hours. But The Compound Effect is so amazing because it just teaches you how making one little change every day can lead to like monumental success. Like just one little thing. Like it doesn't have to be these big steps. It's a penny a day that will make you wealthy, not, $1. It's a penny. It's really small things. And so anyway, in this book, he has this thing called peak peak performance partners. And so I was talking to my cousin about Sister Friend, and she's like, well, like how would you describe it like in a sentence if somebody asked you? And I was like, ooh, I don't know. So I was explaining it to her for like 30 minutes, but essentially it's going to in the future be a brand of clothing. It's going to be a brand for a lot of different things. Like Chrissy Teigen is sort of my marketing guru. Like I think she's done a great job of like turning her stuff into like a brand. Like she's the brand, but also she has the clothing line and the cooking line. So I'm multifaceted in cooking and bringing my film and stuff to life. So Sister Friend is going to be a place where, women can unite to be uplifted spiritually, to get recipes that are healthy for your body, to get a word of encouragement. It's literally just going to be a place where like, oh yeah, like I got this from Sister Friend. Like I will start off as the person who's doing all of the things, but eventually like it will branch out. And so I'm working on the content now and the website for that. And I'm developing like more specifically, like narrowing down like how it's going to start. But in the beginning, the content videos and everything that we're developing are like blog posts about healing, wholeness, wellness, faith. Again, like I said, health and wellness with food. And it's, inspired by my journey with sickle cell and bone marrow transplant and all the different things that I've been through and the things that have helped me get to where I am now. So I have a logo, and the logo is really cool. And yeah, like right now the Instagram Sister Fran is you can see it on IG. It's like, Bibles and recipes and all kinds of stuff. So that's what I'm kind of worried. That's like my passion project. And I feel like when I am a series regular, they're gonna be like, oh yeah, like get the Sister Friend seasoning. Like I think Tabitha Brown is also really good.
That's what I was thinking.
As a, like Tabitha Brown is like kind of also embodies like where I'm going, because I want people, like when people like obviously like most actors and musicians now, they have a brand. It's not just about entertainment, doesn't really pay your bills anymore. So everybody's kind of have their brand. So my brand will be the Sister Friend brand, where we, I want people to like see Sierra and they think like, oh, like this brand represents like faith, healing, wholeness. Like all things wellness, but always starting spiritually first, because you can drink all the green juice every day, which I was doing. But if your mind is not right, like it's not a thing.
So clearly you're driven. Clearly you always got ideas of what to get into. Talk to us about what you still want to accomplish.
Um, I'm writing something down because I don't want to forget. What do I still want to accomplish? Well, my book is something that I deeply want to finish. And I think like once I finish my book, like I think that that's going to be closing a chapter on like all the hell that I've been through. Like I feel like getting this on paper and finishing it, which I have it in front of me, I've been working on it. Once I have that, like I deeply care about finishing that. But if I could be totally honest, it's really scary as you get older sometimes, because there's these things that used to make you so like these things that used to get you off. Like the thing, like you would think about being on the stage at the Oscars, and that would just like make you like tingle in your fingers and your toes, because you're like, oh my God, like the idea of being at the Oscars and like thanking everybody, like, yes, like sign me up, or being in a beautiful dress, or having a beautiful made up face. Like it's kind of scary as you get older, at least for me, because it's scary not those dreams and aspirations that you had before, like trying to envision those things to motivate you when those things don't get you off anymore. Like you're like, oh, like thinking of the Oscars doesn't really do anything for me anymore. Like that's not doing it for me. I mean, I told my husband, I said, I really feel deeply, I, I just want, if there's one thing I want that I think that motivates me, is it's like I was thinking today, the scripture, like be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Like if I can have a renewed sense of mind and every day wake up feeling like I'm 15 again, unafraid, in that childlike position all over again. Because you know, when we're kids, we're unafraid of everything. We're like, jump off a building and like, let's see what happens. Like you're not afraid that you're not going to be taken care of. You're tell you that this is not possible. You're like, I'm going to be a doctor, but I want to be transformed, and I want to have just a sense of renewal every day. Like if I can have a conversation like with you guys where we inspire one another and we've given each other something to live by, to be fruitful by, to hold on in this thing called life for another day, like that is what I really want more than anything. Like, yeah, I want the role, yeah, I want the book, but I just want to be renewed every day. And I want to feel that excitement of childhood every day again, like as an adult. Like I don't want to feel stale anymore. Like I want to feel that every day. And I do think that you can get there, but it is like a daily walk. So yeah, like the book, yeah, like the roles, all of those things, a successful family, like a miracle baby, like yeah, those things would be wonderful. But I just think if I'm living in purpose and having conversations that are life giving, I think that that is what I want to evoke. I want to inspire in people. I want to, you know, like Mama Oprah or Wayne Dyer or Louise Hay, or, you know, people who are just such Eckhart Tolle or Deepak Chopra, any of these people who are just living, you know, breathing God, Sadhguru. Like I love listening to them and the words that they say, and the spirituality that they bring. Like that is what I want more than anything, and that is what I crave, because I also think that as we attain these goals, as we attain these ambitions, whether it's like, oh, I really want to get married, like you get married, right? Or you get free of sickle cell, right? Like you can keep wanting to ascertain all of these different things, but really nothing will satisfy you except for the spirit of God. Like I've asked God for so many things, and it's like, okay, yeah, like I love my husband, like he's great, and I love like our union together. But as a human being, you're going to always have this hunger and this thirst. And really, I noticed the only thing that really satiates it is like these kinds of conversations, or like my spiritual life. Like that is, I want to have a renewed sense of spiritual life every day. That's what I really want.
So, last question before we transition.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean to be authentically you?
I saw that question and I was like, I don't know what that means. I think what does it mean to be authentically you? I think that for me, what it means to be authentically you is to get back to spirit. Who were you in your mother's womb? Like, to me, that's what it means. It's like having this earthly experience, but getting back to like pure spirit. Like, Dr. Wayne Dyer has an affirmation and he says, I know that I am pure spirit, that I always have been, and that I always will be. I know that deep inside me, there is a place called God where all things are known and where all things are understood. This is the universal mind of God, and all things are perfect. It's a very long affirmation, but I think being authentically you is just getting back to who God created you in your mother's womb. I think it's getting to that highest version of yourself where you're not distracted by social media, or you're not appeased by a like or somebody saying, hey, yes, you're qualified to get the job. It's, hey, like God planted this seed in your mom's womb and you are like just worthy because he said like you can exist. I mean, you look at people in other countries and they're just living a life like they could literally spend their whole day like going outside picking leaves, digging a fire pit to cook their food, and like eating is like their day. I want to get to a place where and they have, you know, their family and their spiritual practices, but that's what I think authentically you is, like getting back to spirit form. Like we came from heaven and like now we're living this like human experience, but as I'm having this human experience, like I want to become and evolve back into spirit form, like learn the lessons and get back to that. That's, to me, that's what I think it is. And and you have to be quiet. I mean, I just heard a sermon this week where he was saying, like the pastor was saying, God, what do you want your people to hear? And he said God told him that that was the message. I want them to hear. And then he said God will be like, hey, quit your job. Hey, start the podcast. Hey, write your book. And like honestly, I noticed like I'm not a person who likes a lot of noise. And I noticed the more I like sit in the quiet and like I'm driving and I'm not distracted by music or listening to people's videos, like I can hear God and I know what he's telling me to do. And I think that is how you like live in purpose, like in the quiet, like be quiet so that you can live in purpose. And when you're in purpose, then you are being authentically yourself.
Man. Well, thank you again so much for sharing all the wisdom. We got a couple sermons in here too. So again, make sure to go on her social media and make sure you pay your tithes. But next thing we're going to do is we're going to transition to our next segment, which is called Rapid Fire. Okay. Now, this is where we ask you 3 questions. Yeah. And you're going to give the first thing that comes to mind. Don't pass go. Don't call your husband. Don't go on a walk. The first thing that comes to mind.
Okay.
First question is, what was the last book you read?
I don't even know. Oh, Accidentally Married.
What would you tell
love.
What would you tell your 8-year-old self?
You are safe.
And would you rather be the funniest person in the room or the smartest person?
The funniest.
You heard it here first. That was rapid fire. You know what? We haven't had a true rapid fire in a while, Tony.
That was great. That was great. So we have people who have extended answers. That was great. So thank you.
Yeah.
where can people find you? What do you got going next? I know you mentioned your book a little bit here and there, but where can people find you, and what's next?
Yeah, you can find me on Sierra, spelled with a C, Cierra, Danielle Jackson, my whole government name. Well, it's Kinston now, but I didn't change my IG name. So it's Sierra Danielle Jackson, or Sister Fran. Sister spelled regularly, and then Fran is FRENNN, 3 N's. And what do I have going next? I'm auditioning. Like I said, I'm working on the Sister Friend stuff, and yeah, like you can find me out in the garden too. I'm learning a lot in the garden. I wish we had more time so I could talk to y'all some sermons about the garden, because if you want to know who God is, start a garden.
Well, we tell everybody who hops on our podcast once, you're now part of our metaverse, so we will for sure be having you back on our podcast, and can't wait to have some of your vegetables from your garden. But this was amazing again. Thank you so much. And until next time, Sierra, be authentic in everything that you do. Peace.
I will.
Peace.
Guys, but you know what time it is. It is time for all times. It is time for the friendship moment. This is where we talk about sharing moments together, where Tony and I grow, and you guys get to come along this journey with us. And I think, Tony, you have a question for me.
Yes. Let me think of it. So since we started this podcast, what shit have you seen in me that I may not see in myself?
I would say how do I explain it? Like the ownership you've taken of the podcast. Because you do have a busy life, right? You have a lot of stuff going on, and you've dedicated specific time for us to record this. You've dedicated specific time for you to edit, and the consistency that, to be honest, at first I was like, this ain't gonna work out because I'm busy, you're busy, but it's something that I've seen you stay consistent with this. Even when things were like tough or your time was limited, you made it happen. If you had to stay up late, you made it happen. So I would say, I don't know if you've seen it in yourself, but I've definitely seen it and appreciate it. And yeah, you've definitely taken ownership over your time. Or even when I'm like, hey, can we do this? You're like, got it, you know, and it's like, it's cool. I actually appreciate it. And I think that's your main reason why our podcast is what it is today.
Thanks, man. I appreciate that. We about to blow up one day.
Yes.
People are gonna see our t-shirts and be like, I know that podcast too.
I can't wait to be walking the airport. Authentically Us, Tony Conroy. Me? Our
No way.
podcast? It's gonna happen. Just wait.
Oh, for sure.
Just wait. Well, y'all, thanks for coming on this journey with us, first of all. We're over 50 episodes in, guys, so keep trucking with us. Be on the lookout for our next book that we're going to read. And until next time, be authentic in everything that you do. Peace.
Peace out.